You know, it's phenomenal what's happening in healthcare and medical technology. People are simply living a lot longer. Welcome back, folks, to the Lucia Show. Joined by Lyn Rowe, certified financial planner, who works with a lot of people that are getting up there in years. Hello, Lyn. How you doing?
Good morning, Ray.
Ray Martin from Money Watch, about a week or so, not even a week, 3 or 4 days ago, wrote this: the case for buying long-term care insurance. Were you talking to Ray? Did you call him up and say you should write an article on this?
But I'm interested in hearing what he has to say.
He says the risk of having your financial security disrupted by the unexpected costs of a long stay in a senior care facility is an important financial planning consideration, but most people don't think about buying insurance to cover this risk until they're older. The problem is that if you don't buy the insurance until you think you'll need it, it can be expensive or no longer an option. Sounds to me like you wrote that for him.
I think I did. No. I think he's been listening to our show.
He goes on to say this: at age 50, a typical long-term care insurance policy will run about $900 a year, but that can jump to about $6,000 at age 79. So let's talk about the risk of not buying it and the cost. That is an enormous increase in expense.
Well, the disparity is huge, Ray. One of the problems is that people are living longer, as you said, and as a result, they're more optimistic about things like their portfolio. They think their portfolio is going to just do fine and they're going to be able to self-insure, and and the problem with that is, if you look at what's going on today in skilled nursing, 70% of that population is on public assistance. Now, these were not flakes. They were not people who were trying to, scam the system. They were optimistic people who saved their money, thought they had it all wired, and either lived longer or it cost more to live when they were out of the retirement or out of the nursing homes. And now they're finding that they just don't have enough money to pay for the nursing homes. Now, what's the problem with that? You and I are paying for that. We're all paying for that. And we don't begrudge it. If people are medically indigent, we don't begrudge it. But the point being that if you're over optimistic about what your portfolio is going to be able to do for you, because you're going to live longer than you think and you're going to need assistance longer than you think, then you've got a problem. And we've talked about this, Ray. We've talked about that Fidelity study where you could take right now $25,000 or $250,000, $250,000 right off the top of whatever your portfolio is today and figure that's going to health care. Not for extended care, not for your health insurance premiums, just for health care. Then you throw on top of that another, say, $250,000, $500,000 for extended care. That could put a huge dent in anyone's portfolio.
It says here on the Ray Martin, or in the Ray Martin article, the national average cost of a stay in a skilled nursing facility is about $250 per day, or $91,000 per year.
Correct. And
is expected to rise faster than the pace of core inflation. At this rate, a 55-year-old will have to save over $250,000 to have enough to pay for 2 years of long-term care costs at 85.
That's exactly what I just said. The man is right on target. And if you add inflation into that, and inflation, as he says, in a nursing home is far greater, always has been, than traditional inflation, usually double.
Now, a lot of people believe that Medicare will kick in. Now, he says this, I think you did write this for him: don't expect your health insurance or Medicare to pay much toward a long stay at a nursing home. These programs only pay 11% of costs nationally.
Right.
Now, in order to get Medicare to pay, you have to be indigent.
Medicare, no. Medicare, Ray, is what you have paid in, the system you paid into as you were earning all those years. Medicare is through your Social Security benefits. So at
Medicaid, you have to be
Medicaid
indigent.
is medically indigent. So Medicare will pay for, say, the first 20 days at 100% if you're in skilled nursing, and if you came from a hospital into the skilled nursing. It has to be within 30 days. And if you were in the hospital 4 days, I mean, there's a formula. If you don't fit the formula, So assuming that Medicare does pay, they will pay at 100% for 20 days. And then after 20 days, they'll pay all but about, say, $100 a day, and your Medicare supplement would pick it up. Now, that's all people, and then people shut off and they don't hear the rest of the sentence. The rest of the sentence is, if you are continuing to improve.
Okay, so let's go back because you said that really, really fast.
Yes.
So
I learned from you.
Medicare, I know, Medicare will pay 100% of the first 20 days.
Correct.
And then thereafter, for how long will they pay all but $100 a day?
About 80 days.
80 days,
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
So you might have coverage if you're still improving for 100 days. But if you're going downhill,
Or stable.
or if you're stable, you get about 20 days and that's it.
Generally speaking, that's correct.
So then what happens? They move you out of the hospital or?
That's your problem.
Really?
That is your problem. Yes.
This is why you need to get a hold of Lyn, because this is all she does. I mean, I study this stuff. I still don't know it. I know I'm a little slow on the uptake here, but you go to our website and check all this stuff out. It's iwantmyltc.net. iwantmyltc.net. You'll see her cute picture in the upper right hand as you're looking at it corner. And she talks this month about total care planning, which we're going to get into here in just a bit. But if you want a copy of this article, I don't know if you had a chance to read it, but it's actually very, very good, from Ray Martin at Money Watch. And I found it very interesting because it echoes, sometimes people just don't pay attention to the stuff we talk about.
Right.
Why, I don't get.
Yep.
Maybe it's because they figure you have some, secret vested interest in trying to scare the heck out of people. All you're doing is telling the truth.
Yep.
Just telling the truth. 70% of us are going to need this stuff, and 70% of those people will probably go absolutely broke at some point. You brought up an interesting point, and that is many people are investing their money in an attempt to self-insure, which is where I was 7 or 8 years ago. I said, forget about it. I can self-insure for all this.
3 out of 4 people in skilled nursing homes today said the same thing, and they didn't make it.
We don't have to pound the table.
I'm just concerned, Ray, because do we really think that we're that much smarter than our parents?
No, but we're not that much smarter than my wife, because all of the coaxing that you tried to do to me over the years, it was finally my wife that gave me the swift kick in the rear end.
God bless that woman.
Yes, and now it's it's one of the first things that we pay. We're not getting rid of it.
You don't want
to get rid of it because we've got something that a lot of people don't have, and that is an automatic 5% cost of living adjustment in our benefit.
Right.
And our benefit is now 5% times 8 years or whatever,
Yeah.
40% plus higher than it was when we first bought it.
And the truth is today, Ray, that most people are not going to do that because they can't afford it.
It's the cost.
The cost has gone significantly.
Okay.
But there's
Hold that
some
thought.
is better than none.
Hold that thought.
We'll get there.
Lyn Rowe, iwantmyltc.net. When we come back from the break, she's going to talk about that. And something else that I wanted to ask her about, these so-called filial laws and more, because it's starting to get a little scary out there. Because if you think that you can just ship your mom and dad off to a nursing home and you don't ever have to worry about paying for it because the government will, you want to stick around for our next segment. So don't go away. 844-RAY-SHOW. If you have a question for Lyn, emails at raylucia.com, which we'll get to momentarily. And Lyn Rowe, Certified Financial Planner, the famous website, iwantmyltc.net. Don't go away. The Ray Lucia Show continues after this. And everyone was an enemy. Oh, welcome back. Sorry, I all carried away there. The Ray Lucia Show with Lyn Rowe, who obviously, like me, remembers that song.
My brothers listened to this music when I was really young.
Well, yeah, I'm sure. Your parents did, right?
Yeah, my parents. That's right.
Reality is we both grew up with it. And the fact of the matter is that's one of the reasons why Lyn is focusing her time and attention on people that are in our age group, by and large, but working younger and older sets as well, to help them understand the risks associated with living too long and getting sick along the way with long-term health care. Now, there's some tragic things that have happened in the area of long-term health care. You know, my wife and I should say, bought long-term care because my wife said, honey, I don't want us to be a burden on the kids. And I'm going, to heck with the kids. Well, now you're telling me that the kids are at risk either way.
Yes.
Talk about that, because folks, you may want to sit down for this one because it may scare you.
Well, this is a mouthful. The Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act of 1993 is commonly known as OBRA, not only gave the courts the right, but it gave them the responsibility to allow the nursing homes to go to the children or any other family member close in that family to collect from them if they are not able to pay the bill.
So let me see if I get this right,
Yes.
because this defies all logic. I accumulate assets. My dad goes in a nursing home. He has no money.
Right.
He doesn't pay his nursing home bill. It's beyond whatever Medicaid or Medi-Cal or Medi-something would cover. And they can come after me in my retirement years, because usually the individuals whose parent went into a nursing home at 82 or 85 could be in their 60s and on the precipice of retirement themselves.
Right. And as it stands today, the states are not going after the children by and large. But as you pointed out earlier, and you pointed out many, many times, the states are having issues. We're still looking at problems with funding retirement pensions for people who work for the state. So for people to assume that they're going to be able to just put it on the state is just unbelievable.
All right, so now we know. And there's actually been some cases. I recall there was a case out of Pennsylvania that I read about a year or so ago, where the state came in and actually went after, put liens or however they go after a child. And I think the guy was like 50 years old or something, and he ended up having to foot the bill.
That's right. It was in 2012. He was 47 years old. As a business owner, he owned a restaurant. Now, we were talking earlier about the fact that restaurants just don't have the kind of margins where you've got money stashed away in the bank other than paying payroll. That's just not there.
Unless you're like Cheesecake Factory, because every time I go in that place, it is just jam-packed. But I digress. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yes. Well, here's the point. The point is that the court gave discretion to the nursing home to go after any family member, so they got to pick. So it doesn't necessarily mean the oldest.
Now, it's state by state, because I don't hear much about that in a place like California.
The filial laws are active and on the books.
In all states?
Not
or
in
I think
all
it was
states.
38 states or something like that? Yeah. So you may want to check your state. But there's another side to this story, and that is, even if Medicaid or Medi-Cal or Medi-something covered it for those that are financially indigent, a lot of people say, well, I've got a good idea. We'll just take my parents' money and we'll transfer it to me so that I can be rich and bankrupt my parents, and I'll put them in some kind of a facility. Now, I don't know what kind of a facility that might be. You may not actually like your parents. My mom is deceased, but I still like my dad. I was out with him last night, as a matter of fact. He had a couple of glasses of vino, and on 2 glasses, he is really fun. He is really a fun guy.
Without the wine.
He is indeed. But talk about the clawback, because there's a clawback rule now.
There is a clawback. That clawback basically says that if you transfer assets to a child within the last 5 years, that they will reach back and pull that back into your estate, and that needs to be available to pay for your care. Now, it's kind of scary, because when people think, we can do all this massaging, what parent is dying to sign over their assets to their kids?
Oh, especially with a 5-year clawback, because that would mean,
know.
I was going to say, that would mean they're looking into their 5-year future and saying, you know what, it's going to happen. And it's going to happen sometime, after 5 years.
No one believes it's going to happen, even in their 80s, for Pete's sake. They don't believe. No one wants to believe that it's going to happen. My job is to make them understand that it will happen in 3 out of 4 couples, and for women, it will happen in 3 out of 4 women, and for guys, it'll happen in 1 out of 2 guys. So the odds are stacked against you. It's going to happen. Will you need care? Yes.
Now, according to Ray Martin's article, tell me if you agree with this, he says the average stay for a female is 4 years, and the average stay for a male is 2 years. I guess we just up and die a couple years earlier. So this is absolutely critical for women, for sure.
Right.
And men certainly, but women are more at risk than men are.
Now, let me address that real quickly, because what I hear guys say, and I hear a lot of people say, is, I don't want to be in a nursing home. I just don't. I don't want to go there. I'll stay home. Okay, well, that puts the burden on somebody to take care of you. Somebody. Okay, well, I have enough assets to do that. Great, fine. Who are you going to hire? You're not going to be administering this. Your wife is, or the kids are. They're going to have the responsibility of figuring out where the money comes from, who to hire, who do they trust. When, I mean, there's just so much involved. If you have, just as an example, if we use insurance as the solution, the insurance companies can help with all of that. They've got the lists of vetted vendors in your area that you can trust. They give you their list. They will come in and tell you what to expect. They will come alongside the family member and be an advocate for that person.
You know, I had a surgery a few years ago. It wasn't a serious surgery, but it was a debilitating one. And I was relegated to my recliner chair for about 2 weeks.
Oh, that must have driven you nuts.
And it did drive me nuts, number one. And for the first couple of days, and I had a referral for a home nurse to come and take care of me. I said, Jeannie said, we don't need that. I'll take care of you and all that stuff.
You wore her out, didn't you?
After about 48 hours, I looked at my wife, and she has the grandkids' responsibility.
Yes.
She has responsibility at the dance studio. She has responsibility for the rest of the family. And I just said, honey, give me the phone. I'm calling the nurse. And I have to tell you, they were there, 7-8 hours a day while she was out doing stuff. And they didn't do much. They just took care of everything that needed to be taken care of. If I needed a glass of water, they were there. I needed to have meds. They gave me my meds. And you know what? It was a very, very well invested dollar that we spent on them.
I've had family members who've had long-term care needs at home, and the ones who didn't have the insurance and the ones who did have the insurance, it was like night and day in terms of the quality of life of that family member who was involved in the caregiving. I mean, like she said, the one who had the insurance, she said, it was a godsend, because she said we needed the break from each other.
Well, first of all, my wife is not a nurse, all right? So she was getting kind of aggravated with me going, yo, Gene, come over here. Or texting her or buzzing her or whatever. And I'm sure if I was hooked up to something, she would have pulled the plug. Absolutely certain of that.
Yes, dear, what do you want now?
and we make light of it, but it is so true that it was such a blessing. And I only needed it at that point for a couple of weeks. And I got thinking, well, what if this were a permanent situation? My wife was aggravated in about the, 6th hour of the first 48. And so there was another, 42 hours that she was really aggravated before we got the nurse in.
And you're both much younger. I mean, consider now that a man in his 80s or thereabouts needs care for 1.5 years at home or 2 years. His wife also is like 78, 79, 80, maybe older. Is she in that kind of shape where she can actually do all those things without needing enormous amounts of rest? 24/7? Seriously?
Okay, so Lyn Rowe is going to grab you by the lapel collars and shake you until you, if nothing else, take care of this. Now, we've only got a minute left, but what I love about what you do is you bring options to people. It's not like you got to spend $6,000 a year or whatever. You give them lots of different options. So very quickly, in the 30 seconds, talk about that.
Well, Ray, and this is what I ask people to do in the beginning. Figure out what the budget allows. Just like you're going to go buy a car, just figure out what the budget allows. Let's use that number, and let's get as much bang for the buck as we can.
All right, Lyn Rowe, I want my LTC.net. Folks, this may be one of the most important decisions you make for you, perhaps your parents. There's nothing wrong with baby boomers paying for it for themselves and or mom and dad, because you're going to pay for it either way. So why don't you do that? Go to iwantmyltc.net, or if you're like me, write this number down on your hand.
877-270-3127.
See, I've got it right here. It's on my hand.
877-270-3127.
Lyn Rowe, Certified Financial Planner, or you can just email me at raylucia.com, click on the Ask Ray button, and I'll forward your email to my pal, Lyn Rowe, Certified Financial Planner. Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
Enjoy having you on.